Hey guys, on today's episode, we're working on this 2021 BMW M3 Competition from the BMW Performance Driving School. As you can see, it has a really cool livery on it. Now, the interesting thing is we need to get this cleaned up for a photo shoot down in the city with my buddy Mike. Plus, it's going on display at MPACT, which is going to be at Pocono this year. A huge BMW show. So we got a lot to do today. That and a whole lot more in this episode of Drive Protect. As you can see, the new M3 has been driven hard on the track and needs some love prior to this weekend's events. Mud, dust, water spots, and swirls are nothing new to a driving school vehicle, but what makes this a bit more interesting is that it's half livery and half paint, and the mat is wrapped. So it makes this detail more unique, let's just say, than just new paint alone. Step one is a healthy rinse. Although this has carbon ceramic brakes, the wheels still have brake dust and dirt from some off-track excursions, let's just say. I will note that these wheels are in the top 5 rim designs that look great when clean, but can be a bit of a nightmare to wash with many pockets and angles, so coating these is going to be mandatory at the end, so more on this later. Next, fill up your foamer and buckets with the appropriate soap before loosening the wheels while still on the ground. You know that. Oh my gosh, Mike. Nice. Check this out. Look what I found in the tire. Now, this is very typical of a track car, and I can only imagine how many tires this car goes through in a driving season. It must be insane. Once the wheels were off, it was time to clean the undercarriage and the wheel wells. For the wheel wells, suspension, and calipers, I use Titan 12 degreaser to remove the road and track oils with both the large and the small brush. Now, the wheels themselves were just a mess, despite having carbon ceramic brakes, so I can only imagine what the steel brakes would have looked like under the same constant high-speed braking. Regardless, they need some major cleaning before the photo shoot in Manhattan later tonight. As a point of reference, I did use Plum wheel cleaner here as well as Brute along with my wash mitt. Now, the holes in the pockets tend to hold dirt in the edges, and they're really hard to get with some brushes, so sometimes I just use my mitt to get those areas. Now, just a heads up, this is obviously a BMW performance car, and I've taken a bunch of these classes before. They're absolutely amazing. I highly encourage you to do that. If you don't know, this particular BMW Performance Center is located in South Carolina because of the license plate, and I think there's one in California. Now, these schools give people the opportunity to drive multiple BMWs on a closed track with pro drivers. That is completely insane to me, and it's just a wonderful opportunity to be able to really feel what a car could do and then eventually own it. So you could learn to drift. I think that's a different part of the school. Corner and accelerate, of course. Get your race license, and of course, private coaching lessons you can set up on the side or whatever. Even get your new BMW delivered to the track in South Carolina, which is the best way to get to know your car on day one. I would probably bring some masking tape or some clear bra or something, but I've done these classes before, like I said, and they're absolutely amazing. So I called my buddy who actually works for the Performance Center and I asked, hey man, could you hook up an AMMO discount for my subscribers or something cool at the driving school? Which he did, which was awesome. The code and the details are in the description below. Pretty pumped about that. My buddy Mike from Machines with Souls was in the studio to take the M3 into the city for a shoot later that evening, and he inspected the paint for swirls or anything that I could polish or remove to make the final shots that much more reflective. Clearly, this is going to need to be paint corrected, which isn't a huge shocker because it's an instructor's car. It's on the track every day. Most likely, it gets a quick wipe down in between sessions and oil, brakes, and tire changes, and they're just back to work. So such is life as a track machine, but it does need to be sort of fluff and puffed at this point. Okay, at this point we've washed and cleaned the car, and now we're about to correct the paint. Now there's two interesting things. One, it's white, and two, it has a decal on it all over the car, as a matter of fact. And the interesting part about that is it's matte. Now normally you can just go in and polish either a wrap or decals like this one, but when it's obviously matte, you're gonna ruin that finish. So it adds a little bit of complexity to this one. Likewise, because the paint has so many different angles with respect to the wrap here, I didn't want to go in and clay it. So in this case, I'm using a medium wool pad, and that is picking it up. Now, if you bring the camera in, listen to the difference. I did a spot here, and I left this sort of naked the way it was before. So listen. You can hear a distinctive difference between here and here. Why? Because I picked up all the contamination. I didn't clay. Because when you're claying, if you have a tendency to bang into this, you'll actually pick up the decal. So sometimes in this case, I won't clay, I'll let the pad do the work. Plus, in this case, it's a little funky because I can't just go over it with the pad because I'll turn this a little bit of a lighter color. So this is what made this so interesting and why I think BMW said, hey, bring this in, Larry, just clean this up because we have a huge show, and you can see there's a bunch of marks on it, and clearly this has been to the track. So I got a lot of work to do. To remove the rubber marks on the matte wrap, I very gently used a light polish and a microfiber towel to lift those marks. Now, I'm using more of the solvents and the emulsions within the polish than the pure abrasives alone, but use your judgment and be careful. Likewise, a straight solvent like Goof Off or Goo Gone, that kind of thing may be fine as well, but I had polish in my hand and it worked without issue, so no sweat. Notice the carbon fiber roof. Lots of swirls just like the white paint, but it also had water spots as well from sitting trackside during summer rain showers. That's a total guess. It's just a perfect recipe for water spots. Likewise, spots that are this deep unfortunately require a decent polish and sometimes even a compound. Luckily, they came out with just a medium wool pad and polish, the same as what the white paint released. Now, I can't stress this enough. Remember to blow out your pads after every polishing session. Looking back on this video, I should have just clayed the larger white painted areas and stayed away from the decals, but fortunately, my final polishing wasn't affected, so whatever, live and learn. On the gloss black trim, the swirls were insane, which is totally normal or typical with any car. So I used the Rupes air-powered LHR 75 and a microfiber cutting pad to easily knock down the scratches. That wasn't the issue, but refining those scratches that I just put in, that can be the challenge. So after the polish, notice that all the deep scratches are gone, but there's tons of swirls left behind. Again, this is totally normal. So next I switched to a yellow pad and yellow polish. So the trick here is to do one polishing session, then blow out the pad and don't add any more polish, meaning use what's only in the pad already with medium to heavy downward pressure and maybe only 2 passes at the end. That's it. So the first one, just go up and down with your polish, up and down, then blow out the pad, don't add any more, and then do one medium to heavy pressure going straight down, maybe another pass, but usually it's just one pass, and then wipe it off, check it out, blow it out, and then you may have to repeat it again. When you're done, it'll look significantly better. But again, the whole thing here is residue control is everything on gloss black trim. Next up was to coat both the paint and the wrap. For the wrap, you can see it looks a deeper color, but it's still matte. But now it's protected and it has a little bit more vibrancy to it. With the paint and the wrap now coated, then I put Gelee Pro wheel coating on the black rims. As I said earlier, these are incredibly beautiful, but at the same time, wildly intricate. Once all 4 wheels were done, then I reinstalled them without the wheel hangers because we couldn't find them within the car. I'm not exactly sure where they were, but we managed to get them on and then torqued to spec before cleaning up the interior a bit, especially the steering wheel. BMW made a specific note to make sure that we took some time on the sweaty steering wheel. As you can imagine, high speed can make for a slippery wheel. This color, the blue and the red stitching, that sort of thing. So we spent some time here. To get into those tight spots, I'm using a seam and stitch brush for, of course, the red and the blue stitching that goes on the inside of the steering wheel. And conversely, the interior brush for the larger areas like the door sills and the seat bottoms, etc. I was also asked to focus on the driver's seat a bit with some steam to help remove any sweat or bacteria from the pro driver sitting in the seat all day giving classes and charity lap sessions. Bobet is designed for anti-fingerprints on interior screens as well. As you can see, these get pretty streaky pretty fast, so you can spray it on the towel or a light mist on the screen itself because the liquid is more viscous and it sticks directly to the screen without dripping behind it, so it's kind of cool. Finally, I added some tire shine and we were ready for the shoot. Well guys, we're all done and the BMW looks absolutely amazing. That man back there is taking it later tonight into New York City to do yet another photo shoot, which is going to be awesome, so it's looking perfect for that. We have Reflex Pro on there, we have Gelee Pro on there. Now 2 things to keep in mind. First one is when I'm claying a car typically, no sweat, but when it has this many wraps or decals or whatever, sometimes the clay can lift up some of the edges and I don't like to do that. So in this particular case, you can use a microfiber cutting pad and or wool pad. I use the wool pad to kind of exfoliate the skin as clay would do. So keep that in mind, you just got to blow your pad out a whole lot more. Number 2, and when you have decals, wraps, this kind of thing, people have been asking, can I put Reflex Pro on it? The answer is yes, you absolutely can. You put it on just like you would paint, that doesn't have a wrap on it, and pull it off and it looks perfectly fine and it's protected. So keep that in mind. Now lastly, over here, BMW Performance Driving School, right there. These guys are super cool. I've done a few cars for them. But more importantly, I think what people forget is it's a real driving school, meaning you can go for a day, you can go for a weekend, you can even get your SCCA license and everything in between, so keep that in mind. They've been cool enough to put a discount code. I'll put that in the description below. But last time I did a car for BMW, it was snowing outside and I didn't get to drive it, so that was kind of not super fun. It's 80 degrees, the birds are chirping. Only thing left to do is to take this out, take it for a spin. We're gonna go easy because it is going tonight to Manhattan, and we'll post up some pictures. I'll put a link to my buddy who's shooting the photographs. Super cool, I love doing this type of stuff. As always guys, talk to you soon, bye.